This guy presented himself on a garbage can lid. Not appetizing at all. And you do not have to eat it.
Just red flags all over. I don't even know where to begin at this point.
Thanks for tuning into the show, Honey Hearts. I'm Sandra.
And I'm V.
Here we discuss stories that are sometimes heartwarming and sometimes heartbreaking. In the journey to love, we find ourselves going on dates and meeting new people. If it's going well, you and your date might be planning the next one. If it's not, you might be thinking, should I just go home and end the date? Today we have stories in which both OPs left their dates. Let's see why.
Ooh.
So the first story is from r/AITAH. Am I the a-hole for leaving my sleeping date at the theater?
What?
Hey y'all, went on a date with a guy. I really hit it off via text. Everything went well. We were very attracted to each other and spent a day or two texting before meeting up. After work today, we decided to have a first date. Mind you, we are both 28 male and 30 female. Got there, he was already 3 drinks deep. I decide to catch a drink or two to catch up, ease off the nerves. He also decides to keep drinking and occasionally snatches up my shots. Parentheses, I never finish at once, usually sip to finish them. In-person conversation is less imaginative. We start talking and he starts the convo by telling me how much he hates short hair on women. Parentheses, mine is shortish. But I pull it off. Then he goes to look for a photo of something. As he is scrolling through his gallery, he mentions he has pictures/videos of A, his junk, B, his very close interactions with other women, C, his threesomes with his ex, parentheses, he asked me if I've ever been in a threesome to preempt the above, D, he reveals his ex, parentheses, who he insisted was just an ex-girlfriend up till now, was his ex-fiancé, E, his frat escapades and adventures. I must have visibly expressed my distaste. He picks it up a bit and apologizes for, quote, hurting my feelings. I reply I find it tacky, especially considering he asked me out and expressed an intent to date for a serious relationship and, in his words, quote, was past that part of his life. We leave and he doesn't want to part ways, wants to make it up to me. We go to another spot. He orders 6 beer flights and downs 4 by himself, obnoxiously drunk and all over me, suggestive, flirty, trying to kiss me, asks if I want to go to the movies. Fine, I can forgive being drunk, though I'm slowly over it. In the theater, he lies to the ticket attendant, sneaks us in. Parentheses, he's a flippin' lawyer, mind you. He can afford it. Buys me snacks, passes out 15 minutes into the movie. I'm well over it by this point. He had hinted several times how he wants to leave and hook up. I try to wake him up, no dice. Every time I try, he snores even louder, so I left him there. It was a terrible day and night. He called me when I got home an hour later to apologize, but also insist I'm an a-hole. Called me fat, told me he had to drink to tolerate me, etc., and cussed me out. He says I'm insecure. I know he uses Reddit and don't care. Am I the a-hole?
I have never arrived at a conclusion faster than now. Absolutely not. Oh, OP deserves a reward, a medal of some sort for going through this night. I mean, she made it through, I don't even know what you call the first part, like drinks part 1, drinks part 2, weird movie experience. No, the gallery. I've never seen someone overshare in such a negative way and then try to flip it on the other person. I am just in shock at how anyone could top this date as a bad date.
I don't even know if you could call this an actual date. OP did add something. Edit to add, it's been a day. I had him blocked. He's now messaging me on a new number and told me his dad passed yesterday. Parentheses like that's somehow on me, and just more insults about how I am a loser who, quote, blocks and acts like nothing happened. So I did block him, but I guess he had to make his piece known again at 2 a.m.
I think he's absolutely projecting his feelings onto this person, onto OP. Because, okay, first off, I am doubtful on whether this happened at all at this point. Because who goes on a date with a complete, someone you're trying to get to know on the day that your father passes, first of all?
I don't think I could have done what OP done and gone to the movies.
No.
After the first part of that date, if you could call it that, I think of it as more of like a very uncomfortable encounter. But
that's such an eloquent way of putting it.
But I don't think I would have made it to the movies. And then when you find him snoring 15 minutes in, I think I would have left like 15 minutes ago.
It's just bad dating etiquette. Just red flags all over. I don't even know where to begin at this point. I mean, it's clear that he already was drinking a lot before his date even arrived.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, how can you expect to get to know someone on a first date when you're not even coherent?
And then he finished some of her drinks because she was sipping them slowly, so he snatched them up and finished them. And the whole discussion about his gallery, that was
so unnecessary.
Unnecessary and uncomfortable.
It's almost like he was pseudo bragging in a way. And then I don't like that he turned it on to OP by saying, "Oh, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings."
And then he comes back saying, "Oh, I had to drink to tolerate you."
And randomly calls her fat.
Insults her. Honestly, this is bordering harassment, I would say.
Oh,
that is not something that's not a date. Like, that's just not what a date should be.
I mean, if OP was so intolerable, why did you ask her out? Why did you suggest that you guys continue to spend time together? Why did you want to get handsy? Why did you want to keep on, prolonging the date? I think I'm getting the sense that this person that OP went on the uncomfortable encounter with was projecting.
Right.
Because it seems like it was just very, like, this huge slew of, oh, look at me. I'm doing threesomes. I'm doing this and that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm past that now, and I'm ready for something serious.
A serious relationship.
But I just want to hook up after this. I mean, seriously?
If you're ready for a serious relationship, you would not be a few drinks in before your date arrives and then take the rest of your date's drinks unasked. OP in this story actually comes in a few times to reply to comments.
Oh, what does OP say?
Okay. So first comment, dude sounds like a real piece of work. Good on you for bouncing on him. With the context provided, I certainly hope there is no next, quote, date. OP replies, I feel like a complete jerk for leaving him. I texted my sister and she said to dip, so I did. He said if the roles were reversed, I would be an a-hole and I don't agree. Good on the sister for telling OP to dip.
Yeah.
You are not a jerk for leaving a situation in which you don't want to be put in. If you're on a date and you feel very uncomfortable and you are being mistreated, you are free to leave. You don't need permission to leave a date. You really don't. You can go. You can go at any time you want to go. No one has the right to force you to stay.
That's interesting, though. I feel like unconsciously, maybe it's just me, that in some situations, sometimes I forget that I can just leave it. It's almost like you feel an unconscious pressure to, once you said yes to, I don't know, an outing, even an event, that it's almost like you need to see it through to the end. That you just, I said yes, so now I'm here and I have to stay till the very end, whether it's a bad movie or a bad event or it's just, maybe a dinner I'm not really enjoying. And sometimes I think it can be easy to forget that at any time we are free to leave. You can literally go.
I am very glad that OP's sister told her to go.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you I think naturally you might want to see it through to the end, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And you think of it as a courtesy, like, oh, we're going on a date together, so I should stay the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But you really don't have to, and maybe you just need like an outside party to give you the push to leave because, if that's what you want to do. I'm really glad the sister was there to give her that.
You go, OP. You
Yeah, you
leave.
go, sister, too. I love the looking out for each other.
Yeah.
Another comment that OP replied to, I'm trying to sort this out. Is he saying if you were passed out and he just left you there, that you'd be the a-hole? Forgive me if I'm missing something more obvious. OP replies that if I had been drunk and passed out and he left me, he'd be an a-hole. So of course I would be too. Except if the genders were reversed, he would just be sticking up for himself. What?
Huh? Did I miss something there?
So it seems like the date says that if their roles were reversed and OP was the one passed out and the date left OP, that the date would be an a-hole. Okay, so if OP was out drunk in the movie or passed out drunk in the movies and the date left OP, then the date would be an a-hole. So that's why OP is the a-hole. But if the genders were reversed and the date was a female and OP was male, then he would just be sticking up for himself. Isn't that just contradicting the first statement?
I don't agree. I think even if the roles are reversed, I would have supported, honestly, if OP was a dude, yes, leave. It's a horrendous date that just kept getting worse and worse.
Honestly,
just leave.
Regardless of gender, if you're in an uncomfortable situation, you can leave.
Yeah.
That's okay. Another comment that OP replies to, you tried to wake him up. It's not your fault. He drank too much. He says it's because you're fat, but he was already drunk when you arrived, remember? OP replies, he also knew what I looked like and said I was his type and kept touching me when he could. I hate that guys go straight for, quote, you're fat anyways.
I feel like that's some sort of default insult for some weird reason. It had nothing to do with the situation. Just randomly say, oh, and you're fat. Like,
right. And then OP actually replies to a bunch more comments, but I'm going to read one last one. I think this is an explanation of like OP's mindset at the time. So the comment says, girl, why would you have gone to the second spot with him after the phone incident? Those are precious hours of your life you will never get back. This guy presented himself on a garbage can lid. Not appetizing at all, and you do not have to eat it. Think about that the next time you're out with someone and having this bad a time. If you lack an exit strategy, go up to an employee wherever you are and let them know you need to leave safely so someone can make sure you get to your Uber okay. And then tell the guy thank you for his time, but you have to be going now and you hope he has a great rest of his evening. And OP replies, basically, yeah, I felt a little like I lacked an exit. I didn't want to leave my tab on him regardless because I pay my way, but more so I felt like I would have been making a scene if I got up and left.
That's very responsible.
Right. OP sounds like a very responsible date. I think this comment brought up a really good point that if you're on a date, make sure that you do have an exit strategy for safety, especially when you're meeting a stranger.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a stranger, just knowing that if you have to leave, if you're in a position that you have to leave, that you know what your plan is and you know how you're going to leave and that you're okay with executing that because you know that it's okay to go. Definitely red flags all around. And I'm glad that the comments are, letting OP know that they are okay to go. The sister was the first one to let OP know, and I'm glad that the comments are backing that up.
Yeah.
All votes around are not the a-hole.
Yeah. I'm with that. Kudos to OP for leaving.
Yes, leaving a red flag situation because there's no other color to describe that.
So, I feel like that story was full of red flags. But what about green flags? So, this comes from the subreddit Our Dating Advice, asking girls of Reddit, or in our case, girls of the internet, what are some green flags that you are looking for in a guy?
Oh, that's interesting. That's a fun topic.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, okay.
so I'll ask you first. What are some green flags for you?
Oh, green flags. Why does my mind automatically goes to has the same taste in food as I do? Because right, there are moments when being hangry can lead to arguments when everyone's annoyed.
Okay.
I think same taste in food automatically is my first thought.
Mhm.
What about you?
I feel like that's definitely like, and I think that green flag, applies to everyone differently, right? I think for me, a big one is able to set boundaries.
A strong one.
Yeah. Because I feel like I can be a very private person. And so for me, it's like time is precious. If I'm spending time with you, I want to respect that time. Like, I'm not going to be distracted. I'm not going to, at the same time, if you're going to tell me something, I'm going to respect that and not kind of scream the secrets into the universe in a sense.
Mhm.
And I would hope for the same, that no matter the situation, that there would be some consideration for me and some setting of boundaries.
Especially since the last story, boundaries were definitely broken.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I think a big one for me is boundaries. Now let's see what people thought. I'm seeing some, so one of the top comments, a guy that can laugh at his own mistakes, one that doesn't have to be the smartest in the room, a man who listens instead of waiting for his turn to talk. Ooh, I think that's a pretty good one. I think in any partner, if they're able to laugh at their own mistakes and own up to it and take, accountability, definite green flag.
Definitely listening, because in a relationship, communication is like the most important thing.
Yeah,
Without being able to listen, you cannot effectively communicate.
I agree. Here's another one. Always has my back and is reliable. Consistency and reliability are both huge for me.
One thing about reliability is financial responsibility. That
Oh my
just
gosh,
popped in
yeah.
my head. Someone who is financially responsible and is just confident in how they manage their finances is just such a green flag.
Yeah. And we're not even talking about like being wealthy.
Oh,
No, you can
no.
be financially responsible at any stage.
Right.
Yeah.
Just managing what you have and having a plan going forward, that's just, to me, that's a very attractive trait.
Oh, here's a good one. Healthy relationships have a lot of give and take, but self care is important too. What I'm saying is, I prefer my partner to have a good relationship with themselves too and feel comfortable being alone or being out with their friends and not having me around.
Ooh, that's a strong yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Definitely.
because if you take care of yourself and you are respectful of yourself,
Mhm.
that is how you treat yourself projects into how you treat others, especially
Yeah,
how you treat your partner.
for sure. And I feel like if you can't treat yourself well, how can you treat me or anyone else in your life well,
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely agree with a lot of these green flags.
Green flags all around.
Now, we just talked a lot about green flags, and I hate to take a turn back to the red lane,
Oh,
but this next story, things get so bad that OP leaves before the date even starts.
oh my gosh, what happened?
Oh, let's see. So this is from the subreddit, Am I the A-hole? Am I the a-hole for leaving a double date before it started? For months, my buddy and his girlfriend have been trying to set me up with her cousin. A couple weeks ago, I agreed, and a double date was planned for last night. The plan was that my buddy and I was going to pick up his girlfriend and her cousin at 7 p.m. and go to dinner. We picked the restaurant, and I made a reservation for 8 because it's 30 minutes from her place. Everyone was in on the planning, so everyone knows the schedule. We arrived at her place at 6:45, and they're not ready. We were early, so it's not a big deal. My buddy and I sit and talk until 7:15. he jokingly reminds his girlfriend that we have a reservation and then comments to me that she always cuts things close. At 7:30, I'm getting a little annoyed that we're cutting it so close. They come out at 7:45 to say they're almost done, then go into her bedroom. 8 rolls around, and at this point, I'm in a bad mood since it's an hour past when we were supposed to leave. About 10 minutes later, I get up to leave and my buddy tries to talk me out of it. At this point, I was livid for having to wait over an hour and missing the reservation. Since I made the reservation, they charged me $25 for missing it. This morning, my buddy and his girlfriend texted and called me to tell me what a jerk I was for leaving our planned double date. I defended myself, but they argued we could have gone somewhere else and that I ruined the night for everyone. They want me to apologize, but I steadfastly refused. I like that. I steadfastly refused. Now I'm only an a-hole, but according to them, now I'm not only an a-hole, but according to them, a stubborn jerk. Am I the a-hole?
Wait. So, OP did go to the reservation, but
No.
was late.
So OP completely missed the reservation.
Where did OP go when they left?
OP just ended up leaving.
Okay.
So timeline, it's a little bit confusing. So let me
Right.
just summarize timeline. So OP's friend and his girlfriend wanted to set OP up with the girlfriend's cousin for a double date. So they all agree that OP and his buddy are going to go to the girlfriend's or cousin's house at 7 p.m., pick them up, and then go to dinner together. So they show up at 6:45. The girls are not ready. The girlfriend and the cousin are not ready. So they wait around, they sit and talk. 7:15 rolls around, still not ready. 7:30, still not ready. 7:45, the girls come out to say that they're almost ready, and then they go back inside. So 8 o'clock rolls around, which is the same time as the reservation.
Okay, yeah. That's what I was about to ask. When's the reservation?
Yeah, the reservation was at 8. And so at about 10 minutes later, OP says, so around 8:10, he decides to just get up and leave. So he leaves their house. And it doesn't say where he goes, but I'm assuming he misses the reservation. It says he missed his reservation, so he didn't go. So he didn't even go by himself. And he just leaves. Afterwards, the next morning after, his friend and his friend's girlfriend text him saying he's a jerk. He is not only an a-hole, but a stubborn jerk.
I think OP waited until at least the reservation time.
Oh, he waited over an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's a limit to how reasonably late you can be before it affects everybody. It affects the restaurant's business, and it affects like the group that was gonna go out. So what was taking them so long? I mean, I take a while to get ready too. I'm not going to lie about that. Like, I need my time. But at some point, you kind of know when you have to leave to make it to, and then you start like cutting corners. Like, maybe my eyeshadow does not have to be super perfect. Who's gonna look? Like, I just need to get to the food, right? Or like, oh, maybe I don't have to curl my hair. I could just like, I could just go like this, because at the end of the day, like, there is a reservation. There's like a promise of time to meet. I think they were more than reasonable to wait until 8 o'clock, because that was the reservation time. I mean, at that point, they're going to be late regardless, but it wasn't until 8:10 that OP left.
I feel like it's even weirder because this is a first date. Like, you want to put your best foot forward, and usually even half an hour would be considered late for a first date. And the fact that OP's there waiting, and the friend's girlfriend and cousin, who's supposed to be his date, is making him, well, not making him, but letting him wait over an hour. That's really uncomfortable, especially for a first date, because it kind of sets expectation for the next interactions, if there are any.
What do you think about the point of they could have gone somewhere else then? Because that was what I think the friend said. What do you think you would have done? Would you have gone somewhere else? Like, waited to see where they would go, or would you have left too?
I would have left. I'm just telling you guys now, I would have left. I'm not missing my dinner reservation, okay? Unless there's a valid reason. I say that because it seems like he waited for a while. They come out and they just tell him, oh, we're almost done. When in reality, they're still not ready. And if they wanted to suggest that, they could have proactively said, hey, really sorry about this. We're running so late. Can we reschedule or can we pick somewhere else for tonight? Because we still want to go.
When they came out at, I think it was 7:45, so 15 minutes before the reservation time, you already know that you're going to be late.
Yep.
Unless it's like around the corner, but usually you would know you're going to be late. At the time, they could have suggested, hey, can we go somewhere else? Like, I think just communicate that you are going to be late so that OP and his friend can plan for an alternative, place.
Agreed.
But in just like having them hang on for as long as it takes you to get ready without letting them know, you're letting like the restaurant staff wait around. You're letting OP and OP's friends wait around. Why couldn't you have just said that when you came out?
Yeah. And it says that they were all in on the planning. They knew where the reservation was. And the restaurant is 30 minutes away from her place. So when they came out at 7:45 to say they're almost done, they would have been late anyway.
So they already knew.
Yeah.
Well, if it's 30 minutes away, couldn't you have finished getting ready in the car?
I just feel like there was zero consideration for OP because they could have at least suggested something, alternative, apologize, done something instead of just let OP wait.
I wonder if like the friend is used to this from his girlfriend.
Well, the friend did mention that he was joking about it earlier on, that he said, oh, yeah, he comments to me that the friend's girlfriend, always cuts things close.
That's more than cutting it close. It's just straight up late.
Yep. I don't know. I would have left. Sorry. Like, it's like, if this is your first impression of us getting to know each other and you're willing to let me wait, is this a trend for how future relationships will be?
Yeah. I'm not sure how the friend tolerates that.
I guess he got used to it because he was joking about it, but I mean,
if the friend is used to that, the friend should have had a backup place too.
Yeah.
Like, and just communicate with OP like, hey, okay, so if they're not ready by 7:45 or by 7:30 and we're gonna miss a reservation, we're going here instead. And then I think OP would have stayed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I just think there was zero communication. It was just like everyone was just expecting this to happen. All right. I'm looking at some of the comments. So, comments are saying, not the a-hole. You went on the date, you were there for an hour, you didn't enjoy it, and you left. Their behavior was rude, bullet dodged. That's interesting. I agree with that. So the commenter is basically saying you went on the date, you were there for an hour. I guess the question is, when do dates officially begin? I would agree that the date officially kind of began, right? You guys meeting each other, getting to know a little bit about each other.
I think OP learned a lot about his date.
Yeah. So I would argue technically, I guess that was brief run of the date, or not so brief. Another comment, not the a-hole. Quote, sorry I showed for the date, but was stood up. An hour late is unacceptable in pretty much every situation. So I don't understand why anyone else is pissed. I agree. Well, it's interesting because in a way, I would agree that OP was stood up for his own date.
He was. And he had the right to leave then.
Yep. I think I agree with both stories. Is that a lot of times, I guess it's interesting because in the first story, we had OP wrestling on whether or not, it was okay to leave her date.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the second story flipped where OP literally left early or late, if you want to call it that.
And in a way, you could kind of see the reactions from both choices. Either way, if they're going to be unhappy about it, they're going to be unhappy. But as long as you feel like you did what you wanted to do, that's okay.
Yeah.
And you didn't hurt anyone. They hurt you.
And it's within reason. I'd say my decision is not the a-hole. I'm with the people here.
Definitely not the a-hole. I mean, don't mess with a food reservation.
Coming from the foodies. Unless you have a really good reason. And always communicate. That's a big thing. So those were our takes on both the stories today and Reddit's take. We want to hear what you guys thought about it, so comment below and let us know.
Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok. We'll talk to you soon. Bye!